Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next Zamann webinar series, where today we are talking all things environmental monitoring. Well, I'm not talking about them. I will be introducing our experts and our people who are going to be talking about best practices in the industry for environmental monitoring. So let me introduce to you today Alireza Zarei, CEO, Managing Director of Zamann Pharma Support, and our expert, Martin Müllner, who today is going to be talking to you about environmental monitoring. And this is not my forte, so I'm going to hand over to the experts here to discuss this. Today, we're going to be having a discussion round, a question and answers, rather than the presentation style. So handing over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Candice. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you again.
Hi, Ali. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So today it's about environmental monitoring, and we will just basically have a nice, easygoing conversation. There's no presentation or anything. And the goal is that maybe other people from the industry listening can get some best practices out of it, can get some tips and tricks out of it, and in the best case, even avoid issues for themselves in the future, because we give them we share our expertise and our scars we have obtained over the years in different
the wrinkles.
The wrinkles
Yeah.
So maybe
I have not yet right, but
and you can explain, like I don't know, what is your expertise so far with environmental monitoring? Where are you coming from, etc.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to introduce myself. My name is Martin Müllner. I'm an educated microbiologist. I'm with BI since 2008, so it's quite a while. I spent more than 10 years in the QC microbiology department. Half of that time I was responsible as lab head. So I gained experience in QC micro and especially in environmental monitoring. And then the last approximately 5 years, I worked in the global quality assurance department, and I was responsible for the quality systems, aseptic manufacturing, environmental monitoring, and microbial testing. And therefore, in that time, I also participated in the global project where we deployed the software for environmental monitoring. And so, that's my background for today. And I'm happy to share my experience. And now I hand over back to you, Ali.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. I don't need to introduce myself in the webinar. Normally, people are part of the series. They know each other. Also, this is more of an exchange platform. However, I work with Martin also together in various different projects, also in a big environmental monitoring project. We as Zamann, a service provider, we have many customers, different customers. And by now, just in Germany, I was involved, I think, in 4 major customer projects for environmental monitoring digitalization projects. And the combination gives us a good pool of know-how, experience we can hopefully share with the world, basically. Yeah. Thank you very much, Martin. All right. We have identified some topics we want to discuss about and, get the flow rolling, basically. So one thing that I think is interesting is what software applications are available on the market currently to basically provide a digitalization solution in the context of GMP. I know that there are quite a few solutions, but some of them are more dominant. Some of them I personally know are, for example, Novatec EM, a company from Canada. We have Labware LIMS with their new environmental monitoring modules, as well as Moda, a solution provided by Lonza, if I'm not wrong. And I know that other companies also use Siemens modules for this case. But Martin, maybe you have also a rounder picture in this regard.
Yeah, no, I think, Ali, that's pretty complete. And probably I can tell you, where we started. So more than 5 years ago, the topic was we had an old LIMS system, and we would like to implement a new environmental monitoring system. And there are several ways how you can do it. You can customize, and this is what we had before. We had solutions which were not directly developed for EM. And then we took something like SAP and we adjusted and to make it usable. But we decided that we would like to really have one out-of-the-box solution and really dedicated for environmental monitoring. This is what we currently have and what we have implemented. But there are not so many different options. And I think you summarized it pretty well. These are the same options or softwares I know if you would like to have something specifically for EM.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I'm glad to see that my knowledge is kind of complete. Maybe there are some smaller solutions there, but there are really not a lot. Also, IT companies understanding like the compliance context and ensuring just simple things like easy validation and data integrity and audit trail, etc. pp. So maybe for other industries there, I'm always interested to know how chip manufacturer who might have the highest standards in air contamination, most likely, how they really handle, let's say, the detailed work of environmental monitoring. I couldn't get smarter. I think they have specific solutions for their industry, but that's a topic for itself. So sorry for the, let's say, silicon enthusiast that we don't cover your solutions. It's really about the pharmaceutical industry. So considering, Martin, your, let's say, expertise from the past in actually going these big, huge steps, especially for a bigger company in digitalizing all the environmental monitoring aspects, what would you think were the biggest challenges you guys solved?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think one big challenge is really you should not underestimate the change. And before we had some sites, we have a lot of different sites distributed all around the globe with different maturities. And we had some sites, they already had LIMS systems implemented. So they were partially, not really digital, let's say a hybrid system, where you still have paper in between. And then we also had some sites which only had paper. And if you really go fully digital, that's a big change. And you should not underestimate that change and take the people with that change. And at the beginning, at the classical, you have that change curve where all of them say, oh my goodness, this does not work with the system and I have to do it differently. And that is also, we deployed it from a global perspective as a global solution for all sites. That means you need to harmonize. You need to first harmonize the process to have a global harmonized process for EM. To be honest, for EM is pretty straightforward, but I think the devil is in the detail. So every site has unique specificities which need to be covered, and then they need to adjust. And if you need to adjust, you need to do something differently. And then I think the learning is really you need to help the sites. You need to really take a lot of care in deployment and in explanation, and you need to go through that change curve. So at the moment, all the people, if you need to do something differently, the first human reaction is, no, I don't want to because it was right before. Why shall I do it now differently? And you need to overcome and not underestimate human factor. And at the end, you need to talk with the people. You need to hear their thoughts or their concerns and then look for a solution. Or you need to decide, is this really something which needs to be changed in the software? Because otherwise, we cannot work with the software, or is it something that the people need to get used to the new process?
Yeah, absolutely agree. You touched base on a very, very important topic already, on a hot topic at the very beginning. The deployment phase actually of every software integration in a GMP environment is always hugely underestimated. People in the big timeline planning, you see a little a little area where 2 weeks are calculated in for trainings, and everybody thinks like, that's it, then it will work.
When we go live, then we have 2 weeks hypercare, and then we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is actually something I personally learned a lot when I was younger. When I was younger, I had my very first projects actually with Boehringer. Yeah,
you're still young. You're still young.
I'm still young. I get my first white hair, so I see the darker light at the end, basically.
Come on. You're much younger than me.
Yeah, that's not the heart, Marty. We are one thing I learned from Boehringer, from the experts from Boehringer, was the amount of care and detail you need to put into deployment. And one very, very important term I took away, and since then it's actually in our own company, this is a very big topic by now. It's user acceptance. Yeah, you can have the best software on the planet. In a pharma environment, in a compliance environment, it will drastically fail if there is no user acceptance, like actually making sure that the people that use the software have a good feeling is important, self-confidence in the system, and of course use the functionality as intended correctly without putting too many chains on their hands. Yeah, and this is very, very hard, and this greatly affects the deployment quality. And sometimes I saw, and this is something where maybe people have different opinion, if a project is managed by an IT project manager or IT departments, every company has a different setup. The IT guys are so focused on their technical aspects that deployment, based on my experience from a lot of customers by now, deployment quality most of the time goes down because these guys are focused so much on the technical part. Yeah. So my recommendation is to every management team to really consider that a hands-on experienced person has the deployment, let's say, variables on site and has enough power in global projects to not enforce maybe, but to at least be a strong stakeholder in the steering committees or in the entire project setup. Yeah.
Yeah, we had in the global project setup, a business representative, and that was my role. And I had the contact to all the experts, the micro EM experts all around the globe. And so this was my part to also align and to find a compromise. Because if you ask the sites, they would like to have a lot of additional things in the system. And at the end, everything costs money and you need to prioritize. That was also a challenge, to really separate what is a real concern and what is really, I mean this with respect, but sometimes they are vicious. They would like to have it that way. And then you need to decide, do you really need this or not?
Exactly. And this is also for me part of a good deployment strategy, where in Germany we say abholen, where you basically make sure that your end users, the sites, the stakeholders understand this. We can currently only cover regulatory demands and critical demands.
Exactly.
Everything else will be looked at later, but we will not change the color of a button.
Yeah.
We will not change.
But you need to talk to the people and you need to explain them. You need to explain them why. And you need to hear and you need to take what they are saying seriously, but also explain at the end, you need to prioritize. There's a long wish list and then you need to prioritize.
Yeah, that's a demand management feeding into a good release management, of course. And bigger companies have this already in place. Other companies often build this up. But that's also part of the deployment team to make sure you have these tools available, because these are part of the initial deployment acceptance, to show them you have a plan for the future. This makes a big difference in the mindset of the people working with the system and working with the global team who is responsible, basically. Great, wonderful. Yeah, I really like this part of the deployment. I fully agree with that. Martin, we talked about this before. Also, you guys had some innovative solutions in regard to material management for clean rooms. Maybe you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to share, because one of the challenges we observed, because we implemented also together with the LIMS system for EM, a mobile solution. Yeah, so we introduced tablets. That the sample taker is going in the production area and has no paper. He's doing all the documentation, electronically with the tablet. And then the main question was, okay, that is electronic equipment. How do we get this in a clean area? And I mean, a clean area, let's say the clean area, usually you don't bring it in A, but at least in B or in C, you have airlocks, you have pressure cascade, and you need to transfer or clean, disinfect every material into the clean area. And so with electronic equipment, you can wipe, you can disinfect, but at the end, it's a manual process. And in manual process, it's error prone. There failures can happen. And I think it's also not good for the tablet because we still had some open slots. When you disinfect all the time with IPA, at the end, it would damage the equipment. There are solutions out there that you put the whole tablet in a steel case, that it's hermetically sealed. And these solutions are highly sophisticated, but really expensive. And so for some sites, because we also have animal health business, and there we need to focus a little bit on the money. We need to come up with something else, which is probably cheaper and probably easier to handle. Because one downside of that stainless steel frame is also that every time the tablet changes in the geometrics, so for instance, then it does not fit. It needs to be refitted again. That costs time and money. And so a colleague of mine in the global QA, he detected an article in the web, and that was from the Fraunhofer Institute, and they advertised a prototype where they used UVC light to disinfect electronic devices. And so we reached out to them and established a collaboration because we told them very interesting device. We would like to use it, and they told us they need microbiological studies. And so we financed the studies, and they developed further that prototype to a routine device. And so at the end, we are in the situation that we have conducted the studies, we have the results, and we are currently trying to install, to implement this new system in one of our sites. So, and this is a really cool solution because you can disinfect by light sensitive electronic devices, which otherwise it's complicated to get in the clean area, and this very rapid. So we can kill within 60 seconds all vegetative test microorganisms, and it's a simple process. It looks like, I always looked like a big microwave. You open it, you put in your tablet, then you have that's a layer of glass where the light can go through, and then you can disinfect by light within 60 seconds, and that was is currently I think very innovative, and I'm happy to facilitate and to implement that at our sites.
Nice. So that solution helped you guys to basically accelerate things, like to solve an active issue, like a challenge?
Yeah, so currently it really helps us also to solve other issues because we have also things which we now do not need to wipe. We can also disinfect by light. The only you need to respect that you can only bring in surfaces where the light can reach. So this is the prerequisite for that method, but it also helps us. And currently, it's not yet implemented. And once again, also something to share. If you would like to implement something in a pharmaceutical environment, that really takes time, and it's not a short run. You need to run a marathon, and you need to take the people and onboard them, and that you work on this topic until it's done. So we had the idea, so we proved the concept, but now it's not yet implemented, but we are very close.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah. Is there any name you want to drop, company name that can support maybe some listeners?
Yeah, so for instance, so the Fraunhofer, that's a research institute, they do the research, but they do not manufacture the equipment. The equipment is manufactured by Purion. So they have a lot of solutions where you can use UVC light for disinfection, and feel free to reach out to them. We plan to implement the systems with them, and we also work with them to further develop the system.
Wonderful. Yeah, great. So Purion it is, guys, in combination with the Fraunhofer Institute. I'm very happy to see that it's both our German entities, I guess. Fraunhofer, yes, and Purion as well. Wonderful. Yeah, cool. So that's really, really good. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. But then just to finish this topic up, you guys don't use the steel casing anymore. It's basically really just the equipment that goes through.
So right now we still use the steel case in the B area, but currently we implement it for the C area, because from the technology perspective, we are going more to isolators. And in the isolator, you have usually a surrounding class C, and then this would be sufficient. And right now we start to implement it, and I think we will have it implemented by end of this year.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
At one side. And then we think further. This is also what I learned working in global QA. First, do it at one side, learn, and then if that is feasible, if the product is viable, then think of going to different sides and offer it to them.
That's a great transition to one of the next topic we also discussed, was basically sometimes you guys and the IT people and also the business experts, they have great ideas and they sound so perfect. And then you give it to an actual employee in the clean room or in the manufacturing, and they're like, this is not working because of that and that. And you're like, oh my God, we didn't think about it.
Exactly. And also probably to share with you, because for that equipment, you can have something really wonderful. If you do not talk to the people, it will not work, it will not fly. So what we have done, we collaborated, we conducted the studies, and then we offered it to the production heads. Look, we have something new. Who would like to volunteer to test it? Okay, and then someone volunteered. Okay, you bought in. Then let's do a test phase. We conducted the test phase with a survey, with a questionnaire where the people could write us it's working or not. And so to overcome all this, to have a proof of concept. Because before it's development, then testing if we have the right results, and at the end, you need to really get the feedback from the guys who will actually use that equipment.
Yeah. So end user feedback, and of course, it kind of has to do also with the PQs, I would admit, for different functionalities or anything that is PQ relevant in the scope of a validation. But I fully agree with you. Sometimes we have great ideas. It's also something that is affecting me, my own company. I have a great idea, or somebody else has a great idea, and like in the next meeting, they're like, "Nah, this is complete nonsense because of that and that reason." And we need to have the personality strength to accept this. That's also important. Just because the idea does come from a manager doesn't mean that this is like the best idea right now.
And it needs to solve a problem. If it does not solve a problem in the production, you get really pretty straightforward feedback. This works, or this is not working. I don't want it, and this is a good test. And so the outcome of the test result was, we removed the equipment, and then the people asked, where's the equipment gone? And that was a positive feedback, because they recognized it's gone, and because they reused it.
Well, this is also a way to solve issues, like it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Of course, if somebody is there, maybe a quality head or manufacturing lead or site head or whatever, considering to switch to a potential digital solution, also please keep in mind that there is a big chunk of extra work initially coming. So Martin already talked about the change curve, and we talked a lot about the deployment effort. And part of all of this is, of course, the validation and the compliant, let's say, rollout of the system within the GMP framework. In this case, mostly CSV or CSA based on GAMP5. So be aware that, of course, there is a huge peak of validation activities coming towards you, and this is nothing, based on my experience, this is nothing somebody can do on the side. You need to have dedicated teams, dedicated people, also really going into the details, understanding the system end to end to create the right validation approach. I can tell you, based on my experience with a lot of different softwares already in this area, the validation strategies are completely different most of the time, like how you approach the systems, because they have perhaps different interfaces, something we will discuss in a short manner. They have a different company structure. that you need to consider. You have different deployment approaches that you at least on a process point of view, you need to consider. You need to have your infrastructure set up correctly, documented. You need to have the right IT contact people that are willing to collaborate with you. Can be challenging in some companies as well, yeah. So bringing a software in is great. It must happen for everybody. Don't think about it. You must do it sooner or later, but it comes with a huge effort spike that can last years in some cases, yeah. So that's why please.
Yeah, it's like the world is turning, right? And you cannot avoid digitalization. Yeah, so
absolutely.
And
also,
I agree. Yeah, and I agree. It's effort, and also one thing to share. Everybody's asking you, do you create efficiencies with implementing a software? Because the usual manager expects that there's a return of investment, and that you create efficiencies. But I have to say, our experience is that we implemented that the main driver for having a LIMS system for EM was compliance, for compliance reasons. And there were probably no efficiencies generated. The efficiencies come later from my perspective, if you have interfaces to analytical devices, and then you can really get efficiencies realized. But before, it's a challenge. It's more for compliance reasons.
Yeah.
And again, you cannot avoid. As you cannot avoid, because the world is turning, and then also the whole pharmaceutical environment is going digital, and you cannot just stay there and obviously still work on paper. That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Especially for a big company, that's.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's also, of course, there's a big effort spike at the beginning in any regard and investment. And as Martin said, just going digital doesn't mean that people have less to do. In many cases, they have more to do because they need to click more buttons. They need to log in. You need a validation team. You need an IT team available. So it's just common sense. However, suddenly you are in a position where you receive over time based on your deployment, whether or not it's a staggered approach or a big bang scenario, you receive over time a lot of very valuable quality data. And if you can only avoid within 10 years one recall, you have your return of invest. However, it's hard to measure these things, of course.
Yes.
So it's not easy. It's a passive return of invest over time. And one thing that Martin said that is very important, the efficiencies, especially on a practical level, like people save time, come as soon as you interface your devices with the system. So people have reduced manual input. They perform the analytics on device X and it goes automatically to the system. And it's saved at the right place. Everything is compliant. And it sounds so easy. It's so challenging because you have different manufacturers. You need to talk to each stakeholder individually and so on. What is your experience in this regard?
Yeah, so I can fully agree to what you said, and probably also to add, especially trending capabilities. And because EM, you have a lot of data, and then you need to really be aware or take into consideration that the software has a good trending functionality. Because here you can probably you will be more efficient, because if that is set up correctly, and probably here also. You need to consider that the master data, that's really crucial, that the master data is really very well set up, because at the end, your trending depends on how you have set up the master data. So this just came to my mind. I wanted to share with the community, because later on, changing the master data, oh my goodness, no, you will not do. And then
we should have our own webinar about master data, because this is the next huge topics where especially companies in Germany are missing out huge opportunities to improve their flow, their procedures, knowing what the hell is going on in my global landscape, basically in my company landscape. Sites are using different data sets for the same thing. I absolutely agree that without master data, maybe you should go a step back in your digitalization efforts, first take care of a master data harmonization project and understanding what data you have globally available at all flying around, and then having a strategy, a digitalization strategy that is more holistic than just island solutions. Yeah. But this is the big challenge. Sounds so easy. It's so hard to maintain this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. We are already at 4:30. We could continue for hours, I think.
Yeah.
Well, interesting topic. Yeah. And I would be very happy, Martin, to see you in future, maybe once, twice per year to keep the ball rolling.
Me too, Arnie. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. And,
thank you very much.
Thank you, and greetings to the community.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah. Candice, please.
Thank you very much for this very informative discussion today. We've had quite a few people jump in from all around the globe. We have people here from Germany. We have people from Kenya, Nigeria, all over India, Pakistan. We have people from England joining us today. So a really great global community out there. What I will do today for everyone, I will pop into the comments a link for you all to give us some feedback in regards to the webinar. And also, if you do want to have a participation certificate for watching the webinar today, please fill out section 2, pop in your name and your email address so that I know where to send those through to, and we'll get that through to you in the next few days. Your feedback is really valuable to us, so pop in what topics you would like to talk about. I personally think the Master Data webinar is a great topic. It's a very big topic, and it's also something that we talk a lot about here in everything that we do. So I want to thank you all today for joining us. This is recorded. If you want to come back and watch this at another time, you're all welcome to do so. Pop onto the Zamann website, and I'll also pop into the chat some links to the profiles for Ali and for Martin as well, so that you guys can see the wonderful work that these two experts do in their field and connect with them at any time. So thanks for joining us, and I'll end the live stream here.
Thank you.